how many of you are bird watchers? Any of you join in on the bird count ever? That could be interesting. You know what I mean? That could be a really interesting thing to do, especially the altitude of Hartland is high, it's cold. Um, what you see here is not what you're going to see downtown. So you might want to think about, you know, you got years ahead of you. Getting involved in that could be fun.
Is that going on?
No, they pick a day. They pick a day when they do the bird count, um, and it's not something that you have to sign up for. It's just something that you participate in, and then just let them know what your count is. Um, Yesterday and the day before, I had a real nice flicker on my suet, and that's not something you normally see. So that was a well, you know, we debated whether to put more suet out or not because the bears are around. So we put it out in the morning and then take it in the evening. Just because after a snowstorm, it's a bit of a shock, and what are they going to eat? You know, so you need to chip in a little bit. Yeah. So let's talk about this is talking about native plants as they relate to birds and getting the birds coming into your yard. We do face a problem here in Connecticut with a lot of invasive species. A bittersweet for one. Wherever you can, you know, cut it back. Um, I think you know the birds spread the seed um, to that, but people do too by cutting those vines and using them as decoration in the autumn. And those berries germinate quickly. And um, one thing I have found with bittersweet is it's very good at camouflaging itself. Have you noticed? You know, it camouflages as it begins to grow. It pretends to be a little sapling and then hopes you don't notice. And then it continues to grow and it changes so that it looks like the plants around it until it, if you notice, watch it. Um, you know, when I see it, I pull and pull for all I'm worth to get it out of the ground. But where it breaks, you know it's going to come up again. One good way of getting rid of it is suffocating again with cardboard and wood chips on top of it. And then just, you know, monitor your area. It's going to take a few years, but you know, we're gardeners. We don't care. What's time? You know what I mean? We're outside. We're happy. So look towards a bittersweet. That is a major problem. It is a good source of bird food. The berries you'll see a lot of when the weather's cold, February, March, and you see the bluebirds and the um, robins come back, and there's snow on the ground. They do feed on those berries, but they also feed on the insects that go to those berries. But still, there are other alternatives, and I think we should head down that direction. So, in order to attract birds to your garden, they are looking for certain things when they're scoping out where they're going to hang out. They're looking for um, protection, protection from predators, protection from wind and weather. That's important to them. They're looking for nesting sites. They are looking for food for themselves and then food for their offspring, as well as nesting material. So all these things taken into account to balance a yard where you have variety uh, you'll bring in more birds instead of the monoculture of just lawns. Um, Lawns and open areas are good for the birds, like bluebirds and sparrows, um, uh, tree swallows, those kind of birds that catch catch their insects on the fly. So, you know, easier to do it over open grass. Um, but for the majority of birds, we can again do better for them. So when you're adding to your landscape, think about natural plants that you can put into your landscape. Um, think also about the native plants that give berries. This is really important. Service berry, wonderful. I do take care of an estate, and I'm putting in a whole bird garden, and it's going to be a lot of berrying plants. Service berry being one, um, ilex, the um, the red berry. I think a lot of people call it winterberry. Okay, that's very important for the birds. Mulberries, crab apples, wild grapes, anything that berries up, anything that gives berries. And the important thing, raspberries, blackberries, blueberries. So adding any type of berry to your property is good. And the best way to do it is to add your add your plant material. There's When you're looking at your garden, we tend to be very one of this, one of this, one of this. Naturally, the way plants grow, all different heights in the garden, taller, lower, medium size, mixed together, kind of in drifts. Yeah. Um, when you look in a garden, let's say we're staring out the window there, and if we had three plants and we put one over there and one over there, another one over there, it wouldn't look like a garden. You might not even notice them. But if you were to group them together, odd numbers always look better. If you were to group them together, let's say we did three Delaware white azaleas over there, and they were grouped together, you would see the formation of a garden. It would be small, but you'd say that's a garden. But if those same three Delaware whites were spread out like I just said, you wouldn't notice them, you wouldn't see them. So when you begin your garden, group group your plants, because it's that way for the birds too. When they're migrating and traveling, as a large family unit, and there's many of them, cedar waxwings, birds like that, they come in bulk. And you don't usually see one or two. You see a group, and the group is looking for enough food for the entire group. So when you begin to design your gardens, um, put do more en masse. So for example, this might be the year you can afford three plants. You say, well, what am I going to do? Do three of the same thing and make it a group. Last week we talked about, for example, I'm putting in one place a lot of currants because I want to see more birds in the garden. And the reason we encourage birds, first of all, they don't talk much. You know what I mean? They have good attitudes. Um, they leave the place better than they find it. They eat the insects that are bothering your garden. You don't have to pay them for their labor. Birds are good. Birds are good people to have in your garden. They'll take care of the issues. When you have a good bird population, you'll find that you will not need sprays and chemicals. The gardens will take care of themselves if you know what you're doing. we as Americans are always in competition with one another. The first ones to get the damn leaves raked, bagged up and put out to the street. Leave that leaf litter. Um, it's not what people want to see in the garden, but it's what the birds want to see, and it's better for your garden. For me, trying to, I work for, um, I design gardens and work on estates, and it's hard to educate people that this is really the way it should be done. Stand your ground, do it that way, and everybody will be thinking another 100 years or two, they'll be thinking the same way you're thinking. So we're raising our gardens for ourselves, but for those beings, that rely on us to have a nice place. So don't be in a hurry to rake up your leaves. Leave them under there, because under the trees and shrubs, because like this last snow, anyone who had leaves under the trees, under their shrubberies, was really a blessing to the birds that eat that way, that were looking for that. The insects, the worms that come up, um, they can find what they are looking for in that leaf litter. It may not be appetizing to us, but they like that. So when you begin to design your gardens, let's say you're doing a perennial garden, don't do a monoculture, do many plants. Ones that um, bloom at different times, different heights, tall, short. The different birds are looking for different things. So to have a mixture, you'll call in a better mix of birds. All right. A lot of perennials will reseed themselves, and we talked about this earlier. If you're getting into plants and you're not sure what they are, take a leaf and press it, and then write yourself a note where in the garden you place that. And so when you go to weed and you look and you go, oh yeah, this what I see out there is not a weed, it's this. And now we'll let it be. Yeah. So try to grow things that are native. And in one of our other lectures, I was talking about how most pollinators prefer a simple flower. As things are hybridized, the flowers become more complex. Doubles, double doubles, double triple doubles, and pretty soon the flower is so big the plant can't hold it. But the ones who pollinate that are looking more for simplicity, because nothing on them has changed to be able to get into these double triple doubles and get the food that they need. So they're relying on you to do some more simple kind of flowers. Um, a lot of shrubberies that you put in, anything that you put in that will form a berry. And for example, when the uh, spring is late to come, but the robins have come and the bluebirds have come and they're hungry. One plant that you could have on your property that would hold a berry most of the winter, would be the last thing any of them want to eat, but they will eat it, would be a bayberry plant. Okay, so bayberry, I love to make candles with the bayberry. Um, it gives a wax, all the berries harvested and boiled down, the wax raises, you scoop that off, it's got a beautiful fragrance, a green color, but the birds will eat that. So if you could include in your property something that isn't first choice, but certainly a choice when you're hungry, bayberry would take care of that. But when you're building your gardens, the large trees, the maples and the pines, these are very important. They're first of all native. They give cover to the rest of the garden underneath it. They give housing, but food, sap, just a sap dripping from a broken branch is a place of watering for the birds. If the rivers are frozen, the ponds are frozen, you know, they're not eating berries, which was very often where they get their moisture from. Everything's frozen. Where do they go for a drink? I noticed at my place very often the first time I see a bluebird or a robin that they've come to the gutters on my building to drink because the water's dripping and they can get it. Broken branches from trees, maples and such with sweet sap is another good place for them to get drink, as well as the seeds that fall from that, the leaves that come down onto the floor, um, that harvest, that house more insects, break down, bring more worms. Very good. So that should be your first is a high story. Under that is what we call the understory trees, um, dogwood. Any of you growing dogwood in your gardens? Yeah, what a great plant. The kusa is a Korean dogwood, and it gets those big red berries. The Floridia is the American dogwood. The alba is white, the rubra red, um, the pinks. Any of these are a wonderful addition to a garden trying to bring in birds. Serviceberry, um, and then go even lower to shrubberies. What birds are looking for is some evergreens to nest in. So if you don't have evergreen, when I say evergreen, the conifers, that would be a very nice addition. And they don't have to be big and they don't have to be fast growing if your garden is small. Chemosiphorus are a kind of an evergreen that grows slowly and more miniatures. Um, but anything that you put there, because this is where where the birds like to roost at night, among the evergreens. You wonder where they go at night. That's where they go. Um, any of the pine trees, the little cones there, they find food in those cones. Um, so anytime you can add a couple of evergreens to the property, that's good. I also add a garden design I did for birds. I did some holly. Holly is wonderful, A, because it's evergreen. B, because it does give berries and which is a food source. Okay, a lot of the holly, which is in the ilex family, um, you need a male and a female, and you need that for things like mulberries as well. And it's said that blueberries, if you're going to plant blueberries, plant at least two varieties so that they cross pollinate better, so that you get more fruit that way. So um, when planning your garden, plan, for example, if you look at hollies, there's a male holly called a stallion, um, that would normally pollinate many female hollies. But when purchasing, if you're going to do a China girl, do a China boy. Okay, um, there's so many varieties, but if for example a China boy is not available, normally one called a stallion will pollinate many. Um, Go to a reputable plant seller. I would say stay away from the box stores because they don't know diddly do, and they really can't answer your questions. And plants are pricey. You don't want to have to do them several times. So what my plan in this instance, I'm putting in one male, and then I'm going to do two or three females to either side and add to it yearly. But this will be wonderful for evergreen, roosting place, berries, we'll check a lot of boxes. Another plant, a native plant that I think a lot of people don't know about is snowberry. Any of you grow that? Okay, this is kind of it is a native plant. Mostly the berries are white, but there's some new cultivars where they berry pink. They're a nice cut flower. They're used a lot in the cut flower industry as a filler. Um, but the berries stay on the bush a long time, and there are a multitude of birds that love that berry. Um, we talked about how you can, if you can't afford to buy a lot, buy one and learn to propagate. And we talked about the propagation. The easiest way would be to take a branch and bend it down to the earth, take off some of the leaves, um, break them back a little, opening up the stem a bit to the earth, put the stem on the ground with a weight, a piece of metal bent like a bobby pin, a U shape, whatever will hold it down, but a rock will suffice. Get that rooting. So you would do the same with gooseberries, do the same with the currants. There's you can do the same with the snowberries. Um, so there's a lot of things. If you can get one or two and then make that part of your mission to make a few more, it's fun. I mean, if you garden, it's fun. Propagating's a blast. Um, I got pots everywhere, and not everything propagates well, but for the most part it does. So do a few. But when you're planting them in your yard, like I said, try to mass them so that the birds who are migrating go, whoa, down there, look at all those red berries. And they come in as a flock and they take what they want. If they're spread out all over the place, um, not so easy to find. Take a look and do a little research. Some things like, that winterberry I'm talking about, that likes a woodland edge, moist. You usually see it in ditches. The same with elderberry. Huh? Any of you growing elderberry on your property? Elderberry is a very tasty berry. I grew up eating that. I love that stuff. Elderberry um, is a really good swampy kind of wetland, and I bring it up because Hartland is pretty wet. These mountainous areas, we all have a wet area in our yard, most of us, unless you're built on ledge. Um, but for the most part, we've got wet. So something like an elderberry would be just wonderful there. The winterberry would be wonderful there. It would take care of several problems for you. These plants are good for screening as well. For privacy screening, they're wonderful. But anything that berries up is good. When you check at what you're doing, remember that when the birds come in, they need food in the spring. They're going to want it in the summer when they're feeding their young. And a lot of them, they do more than one group. They may do two or three sets of eggs in a season. Um, a good plant to put in your yard would be one that I'm doing on the property I'm working on, is I'm going to put in a lot of willow. Um, willow is first of all, if you've got wet, willow's a great thing to put there. But the leaves come out, they're very prolific, the willows, and insects love willow. So if you've got willow, you've got insects, you've got food for birds. So some things you put, you want the right kind of insects, the things they're going to eat. We'll talk about pesticides. Don't use them. I, I don't care. I can't think of one instance, and I own a business that deals with plants. That's my livelihood. That's how I live. And I do not use chemicals. First of all, what the heck do you know about chemicals? You chemist? You know what I mean? They're gonna sell them to you. They're gonna sell them to you. But is that necessarily what you need? I don't think so. I don't think that chemicals balance out the destruction that they cause. Things like DDT. Everybody was on board. Everybody was using it. And look what happened. Look what happened to the bird populations. Because we don't know enough. Or if we know enough, we have enough money to bend it to our will, and it's still okay to buy it. So when people stop purchasing, then they'll come up with something else to sell. So don't buy that stuff. You don't need it. I'll tell you, if you do have an insect problem in your garden, do any of you grow pyrethrum? Okay, a plant this. It's a plant called feverfew. It's considered an herb. Feverfew, feverfew. The flowers are like a white daisy. It has a very distinct fragrance to the leaves. Feverfew in Victorian and colonial times, a leaf was uh, eaten to relieve headaches and that kind of thing. But it's heavy in pyrethrum. So when you take the flowers, and you could take the leaves too, make a tea from them. So whenever you're using herbs for a tea or medicine or for to do battle for you, start by warming the water slowly. What this will do is, as the water warms, it will bring the oils out of the plant. If you use too much heat, like boil the snot out of it, a lot of that medicine is going to go because it's too hot. So you want to take the medicine from the plant slowly, huh? At a nice simmer. Um, once you extract it, and you'll know because the water's going to change color. Yeah. Best always when doing these kinds of things to use glass or enamel cookware, because if you use like an aluminum or a copper, that will interact with the herb and change its properties. So when you're doing things and you're not really and you want total potency, and I suggest that you use a glass or an enamel pan so that there's no metal interacting with the herb. All right, so we're getting back to the kitchen and we're slowly bringing our feverfew to a simmer. Then we cool it down and strain it off. What you've got in that water is pyrethrum. This is a chemical that, when sprayed on insects, will take them out in about 9 seconds. All right? So I'm going to tell you how to do that. You've done your water. Now what you're going to do is add some dish soap. Not a lot, but what dish soap is going to do is make this water cling to the insect. All right? Once the insects don't have a lung system like we do. Insects breathe through their bodies. So in order to suffocate them is what our intention is. We encapsulate them with a film of this soap mixed with this pyrethrum. It takes about 9 seconds to wipe them out. So you can do battle with your thrips and your other insects. This is simple, inexpensive, easy to do, no chemicals. It's going to save you a fortune. and you're going to do the earth a really big favor by using this. So label the jar, and then just use this against insects. Remember that a course to deal with insects in the garden is about 3 weeks. It takes 3 weeks to interrupt the life cycle of an insect. So remember that they lay their eggs, but they'll be in the crotches of where the leaf meets the stem. They're not going to be always visible to you. Just know that a lot of that is hidden. So you'll spray the underside of the leaves, the overside, and make sure you get in the nooks and crannies of the plant. Just go to the next plant, spray that too, and then when you come back, rinse it off. If you leave it on, the problem is, you ever blow bubbles, soap bubbles, and you see the light, and the light really amplifies the sun and the heat of the sun and the light, and you burn your plant leaves. Okay, so you can leave it on. Know that it's only going to take 9-10 seconds to be done with these insects. So go around your garden, do that, and then rinse it off, spray it off. Use a watering can or a hose. Rinse it off. You've done your work, and then do that on those plants for 3 weeks in a row, and you'll see that the amount of insects will really fall off. All right. So that's one thing you can do for the birds. If the bird eats an insect that you've killed with dish soap and pyrethrum, it's not going to do them any damage. But if they were sucking down some of those chemicals that you and I don't want to eat, you're going to do some damage there, not just to them, but their chicks. So we can do better. That feverfew. And once you get it in your garden, you'll have it in your garden. If you know what to look for, it reseeds, and it's a beautiful plant. You'll be happy to have it in your garden. All right. So that's one way to take care of those issues. All right. No questions. Everybody's good.
You get it from seed?
Yeah, you can do feverfew from seed. I sell it at my place on my herb stand, just because I think it's a really important plant, and I think that we're not educated that way. I mean, people should be talking about that instead of all the chemicals and sprays. Um, there's some of the feverfew where the flower looks like a button, it's just a tight button. The one I think is better, and I could be wrong, happens, is the one that looks like a daisy. Okay, that's nice, and when you rub the leaf, plants like that. When you rub the leaf and smell, that's really good for a plant. Um, so it has such an interesting fragrance that when you smell it, you'll know pyrethrum when you smell it in other plants. There are a few others, but feverfew is the one that I use for when I go into battle with bugs. It works fine.
Is that the same that they put in the bug sprays?
Pyrethrum?
Yes.
Yep, in a natural bug spray. Yep.
Yes.
Yep. But I do a bug spray, if you want to there's a difference between killing a bug, and that's encapsulating them in soap, killing them as to getting them not to come near you. So the mixes that you would use are different. The pyrethrum is wonderful for killing them because it goes to the nervous system. The other are not for killing; they're for more shooing them away. And a list of lemongrass, lavender, rosemary. What else do I put in there? Cedarwood, peppermint. Um, Those are great oils if you're going to make a bug spray, and use just like a distilled water as a carrier. Do not use eucalyptus oil. Eucalyptus oil, a lot of people, oh, we've got eucalyptus in our spray. It's not good. It causes rashes on a lot of people. So eucalyptus oil, although it could do great battle against insects, it's also not good for people. So leave that out of your mix. Don't use eucalyptus
So if you just grew beaver fruit in your garden, will it deter insects?
oil. It will not deter insects like chase them out of the garden. You need to know a little more and go for the pyrethrum, and that's a gentle steeping mixed with a little dish soap. It's easy, and once you do it, you'll see it's simple. But I think nobody wants you to know these things because big corporations need to make money. It's the same in August when they go, oh, look at your lawn. Aren't you an embarrassment? Everybody in town's talking about it. Your lawn looks like heck. You should be ashamed. And so now that we have shamed you, you come on down here and you buy some Scots for your lawn. And we're only going to charge you a lot, but we'll put it in your car for you. Get that on your lawn, and the neighbors will think the world of you now. When they don't say in August all the lawns rest and they all look burned and they all look tired, because that's what lawns do in August. They wouldn't sell much if they'd said that to you, if they told you the truth. You know what I mean? So, but that is the truth. So don't trot on down there and buy that stuff. Just know that your lawn's going to grow. The best thing you could do is raise your mower blades up an inch or two and not mow so low. Because when you're talking about grasses, what's above is also below. It always works like that. What is above is also below. So if your grass is 2 inches tall, so is your root system. Your grass is like this, so is your root system. Okay? Because the above can't feed the below if it's not tall enough. Yeah. So while we're on grass, native grasses are wonderful for birds. Eating the seed fronds, eating the insects that come to it. But we forget a few things in the garden that are important. Have any of you ever heard of wood thrush? What a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful sound. The first in the morning, the last at night. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Um, what these guys and a lot of the songbirds need, they need a tall branch, a tall tree to sing from. Not asking much. They just want to be seen when they sing. So they like to go up high, and that's where they sing from, up above. So keep some nice long twigs in the garden, if you want to see them come and sing to you. Trellises, light on a trellis to sing. House wrens. Do any of you lucky enough? Aren't they magnificent? That little tiny bird can sing so loud. It's like, when they come to the garden, it's magic. You need them, right? They make your day. They're wonderful. So yeah, you want to get the songbirds to sing, you've got to give them a perch to sing from. They like to be seen, little divas. And then, yes, they love that, right? A high place. Yep. And that's where they sing from. So make sure you have something like that for the songbirds. Another thing that's important, and people don't realize it, is the standing dead. The standing dead. Leave some around. Nothing that's going to fall on the house or the car, but something out in the wood, because the woodpeckers, they eat there, but they do their drumming there. They do their making cavities for other birds to nest in and to to spend the cold night in. So the standing dead is important, and it may not meet with the aesthetics of modern day America, but we could maybe change that. Um, you should leave them. You should leave them. Yeah. So if you can do those things, you'll get birds. The next thing that they need is water. Um, we're not all lucky to have a stream rolling by. At my property, I've got a stream, and I've been seeing a great blue heron every day, and he's massive, and he's, but my land is up high, and the brook is down low, so I can watch all the birds that use the brook as a highway. You know, I watch them coming and going. It's beautiful. The kingfishers, all of those. So if you're lucky enough to have water like that, it's good. If you do not, bird baths are a wonderful addition, but birds do not like a deep bird bath. So when you're out and about seeking a bird bath, about 3 inches is max. Because remember, they have short legs, and they too are afraid of drowning. So you can do, 3 inches deep, and if your bird bath is deeper, maybe put some rocks in the bottom that they might stand on while they're drinking, something flat, something that would accommodate them. Make sure that the bird bath is cleaned out like every 3 or 4 days. Um, you can just a scrub brush, a little bleach if it's really gotten bad. Sometimes the pollen is harsh and can build up to a slimy mess in there pretty quickly. So just keep a scrub brush there and just clean it out, rinse it, and then some fresh water. Um, they like the sound of dripping water too. So I don't know if on your deck, well, could be a problem if you have cats. So a bird bath on a pedestal is good. Keep cats away. Um, a collar with a bell for the cats is good. Warn the birds that they're coming. Um, but water, and water that drips, which can be a simple, small pump that just you can change. Pumps are not pricey, a couple of bucks. You can even get solar pumps. Um, uh, you can even do a solar pump where you just put it in, and you can change the amount of spray that the pump uses. So they're not expensive. You're looking at probably under $20 even for solar. So no matter where you decide to put your water for the birds, it is possible to put a small pump in there. And the benefit of that is the sound of the water, but also the movement of the water, which keeps it from becoming stagnant in a place where mosquitoes want to begin.
Those little round things, are they poisonous? I don't use them.
Yeah, I don't use them either. I'll be honest with you. I think if you have like a rain barrel or something, just make sure you have a screen over it. Any other bucket, store it upside down so that it doesn't fill, um, because mosquitoes are an issue. Uh, Bats are a wonderful way to take care of them, but bats aren't as plentiful as they used to be, and we can help with that too by being clever, because they are insect eaters. You want to be clever and not use insecticides. Yeah, but for mosquitoes, I think anything with a chemical is isn't a good move. A couple of drops of dish soap on the surface of water will I mean, dish soap is good, right? Invest in Dawn. Um, a couple of drops where you get a bit of an oil slick on the top that the insects can't break that break that barrier, that film barrier, uh, to lay their eggs, could be a better fix than, um, you know, the urinal cakes or whatever they're selling. Um, yeah. Um, so that's the way I would go. Just try to stick to the simplest. Simple is always better. All right. So look for snowberry. This is wonderful. Look for serviceberry. Look for the elderberries. I'm trying to think who else. That ilex, the winterberry, very good. And a lot of birds, you know, they will eat like the partridge berries that grow on the ground. I've planted a lot of raspberries and blackberries on my property. It's very steep down to the water, and I'm hoping they'll crawl and hold the hill. But I'm thinking while they're crawling and holding the hill, the birds will eat them, the bears will come get them if they can get up that steep slope. Um, but that's a nice add. Berries, berry bushes are not expensive, and they're easy to propagate. You just got to get one and then propagate. And if you can't remember how to propagate, call me. I remember how to propagate. And it's fun. I mean, you can really have a good time with that. But try to get a nice mix. And when you get a mix, plant in mass. All right. That way the bird. And when I say mass, do three. You know, do three of that, and then start making cuttings. And when you get a little more coin, go over here and get three of this. If they're an easy propagator, like a currant, maybe one or two. You can have a whole bunch that propagate quickly. So looking for native plants, um, and in the garden, in the fall, don't be so quick to cut your garden down. Like my garden, my echinaceas are still up. You know, my zinnias are still up. The reason being is the roots left in the ground are great for the soil structure. They're giving worms something to eat when they're digging around and pooping everywhere, which is exactly what we want. And up above, you've got those little yellow finches. You have all the little seed feeders who will eat those. So it's for me, you know, I work for I do a lot of estates and garden design, that kind of thing, and it's to educate people. Like, you haven't cut back the garden. Well, I've cut back what needed to be cut back. You know, the rest I'm leaving. You know what I mean? If indeed this is our mission, is to is to naturalize and get birds and such back, then we need to leave these and um, stop thinking the way we've been trained to think, that we can do better. It's not a messy garden, it's a perfect garden. You know, leaving those stalks up it's great.
Just the curiosity, how many listen to you? Oh, that's right, that's right. And as soon as you're gone, they go out at night and do some trimming.
Yeah, right.
Have you had some customers like that that just can't tolerate the messy work? Those type A's, they got, get rid of it.
Uh-huh. But you know what? It's a private war, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's your private space, it's your castle. So how you're going to attack things on your own property. And if you're educated, you see, this is a problem, is people lack the education to know what to do. Trot on down here and get your Scots for the lawn. Well, they think that's what they're supposed to do. You know what I mean? I saw, whenever I see true, you know, those true green lawn services, it just puts my head in a tailspin, and I want to stop and have a conversation. But that's not on me to do that. You know what I mean? It's on us. If the pocketbooks don't open, then that business will not flourish, and it will be replaced by something that will serve the people better. How you vote. So just don't partake of that. You know, depending on, for example, I have, you have peonies. Let's go to the perennial garden. We have peonies. Their leaves are now turning brown. As long as a perennial is green, don't cut it. It's feeding the below. As soon as it goes yellow or brown, that's a good time to cut. And that would be that way on your tulips and your delphiniums. But if you are looking at flowers that have seed pods up above, something that someone could eat, leave that, leave that. But cut the rest of the garden. So I find normally in the autumn is a good time, or some perennials blossom early. You know, they don't all come at once, so you can cut and clean the garden as you go. But as long as a perennial is still green, do not cut it because it's feeding the below. Then when you get into the garden and the winter's had its way and beat it up, then you can cut back. Like I'll go out this week to my perennials and now start to clean them up. But they've needed that growth. Even my perennials I don't cut in pots. They need that cover to hold leaves, to hold some heat, to cover the plant from wind. A lot of people forget this. The wind is so detrimental to a garden, and you've got it up here on this mountain. So if you can leave your perennial grasses and perennial leaves to just stay there, and leaves blow in and things blow in and it insulates, um, that that's best. And then in the spring, begin to clean. So for me, I'll start to cut probably this week, but I'm not in a hurry because there's still some bees and some other pollinators in the ground. So I don't hurry. I might cut the above and then wait a little while to rake the below. Um, just be thoughtful. Be a good host. Um, but for most things like um, peonies, there's nothing there that's going to feed a bird. There's nothing there that's going to feed anything. And if it's turned brown, cut it, and then you'll have less to do. So as they turn brown, as they change color and are no longer taking in solar energy, then it's a good time to cut them. But when you cut them, don't cut them too low. Leave a little stubble because that stubble will help to catch leaves and things rolling in. Yeah. Any other questions? All righty.
Where is your herb stand?
Well, I have a small garden shop, and it's a very small garden shop. It's on Route 44 in Barkhamsted, very near the log house, but it's small, and my intention is to stay small. My intention is to teach and to provide quality and service. We need to do this.
Do you sell some of the berry,
Yeah,
like
no,
gooseberry and?
yeah, I sell some of it, like currants and gooseberries. If you want to get to bigger plants, and anything you want is available to me. Like I have to do a delivery on my way back this morning. I was up to my wholesaler and picked up plants for somebody this morning before I came here.
Yeah, I was having a hard time finding them.
Yeah, and it is hard, but I know everybody and their brother. So if someone's got something,
You'll know.
well, if it's in the plant world, you know what I mean? Fashion, not so much, but the plant world, yeah, I can help you out. And some things, are easier to find than others. But what you want is native. Um, like you really like that snowberry. I know that because it was in my grandmother's yard, and my cousins and I, just throw those at each other. They're wonderful and to do battle with, and the birds like them. So yeah, any of that. Like if I don't have it on property, within a week I can have it because yeah, I just go and get. I know my friends will make it, and if it's not available, they'll order. They'll know where to get it. So yeah, it's nice to have friends.
No, we're talking about your 3 types of stuff. Would it matter with those bushes if they were all 3 different?
No, it wouldn't matter, but But one of the reasons for grouping is better pollination and a higher berry count. So when the bees fly from this to this to this, they're moving the pollen of the same varieties around, and you'll find that your fruit harvest is heavier. And that's why I say group them this way. And you don't have to do it and do 40 varieties in a year. Pick one or two that you want to focus on, get those planted in a group, start to propagate them, which can be moved. That's how I'm doing it. I mean, I've got a huge place to do. I'm not spending $100,000 to landscape. I'm going to do it a little at a time and propagate that way. Yeah. So yeah, any questions you have, you can always call me, but we'll meet again next week. So, good, take care of them. Yeah, thanks for coming.
Thanks very much.